What's up, fam? I want to talk to you a little bit about how many phone calls are required to win. That's a very simple answer. The answer is as many as it takes. I'm going to break that down for you though. So the average person requires at least 3 attempts to contact before you reach them. Normally it's a 12 contact window, meaning I triple dial you 12 times, 36 calls in an attempt to reach you. If I've done that process normally within a week's time, I will have it reached you like 80% of the time. And if I've done that, then that means that there is a high likelihood I've scheduled an appointment, or you've told me to pound sand, eat shit, go die, whatever. And I can check off if you are going to be a lead or if you are a no sale. Why I use that metric, the 12 calls, is it's proven that after 12 calls, the reality of reaching them drops to like 2%. It's not worth wasting your time to get to 2% when you can either get fresh leads or go door knock them or do whatever activity will generate a higher return on the investment of your time. Normally, to book a week's worth of calls, you want to have at least 15 appointments. If you have 15 appointments and it takes 12 calls, 10 times 15 is at least 150 calls. So you need to be prepared to make at least 150 calls to book out your week. If you do that on the minute, every minute, that means that it's going to take you 150 minutes, per time. Figure it out. It's very simple. It's about 2 hours. Now, that doesn't account for the time it takes to reach these people or the extra times we're dividing up the calls. So in all reality, you might have 150 minutes on the phone, but it might take you 2 days because you have to log it in your CRM. You might have to call them at different times. You might have to change up your voicemail. Leave them a different voicemail. There's a whole bunch of tactics. I normally say though, to prepare to schedule 15 appointments, in the Medicare space, be prepared to do 150 to 250 phone calls. Depending on your skill level, what you're able to do, what type of lead you're working, that's kind of the bare bone minimum that's going to be required. If you really want to make sure you always get that number, I would increase your activity level. So to guarantee 15 appointments, I know that if me or my appointment setter makes 300 to 400 calls and attempts, and when I say attempts, I mean picking up the phone, trying to reach someone, there's a very high likelihood I should have at least 15 appointments. Now those 400 attempts might take 3-4 days, 100 a day. There's a high likelihood that I'll be able to get there. With that being said, I also say this, depending on where you live and the types of leads that you're working, those numbers can be very, very skewed. That's why I said do as many as it takes. I've had days where I've booked 5 appointments in 30 minutes on literally 6 phone calls. Pick up the phone call, hey Jerry, it's Nick, appointment. Hey, Miss Diane, Nick, appointment. Hey, Miss Betty, appointment. You could get it done. I've literally watched someone else in our industry for less than an hour book 10 appointments for the next day. I've also watched someone book 1 appointment with 5 hours of calling. It really depends on the leads, the type of lead that you have, which I recommend a direct mail or a high intent lead, where you're calling, a little more rural area. If you're calling in the city, you may never get anyone to connect because they get called all the time. It's just the amount of people, amount of distractions. And then of course, your skill level. The better you are on the phone, when you connect, what are the odds that you turn that into an appointment? If you're better than 50-50, then that's great, but you got to factor in, all right, if I'm at 50% conversion, then I got to talk to 30 people to get 15 appointments. Well, how many calls do you have to make? Work it backwards. You might have to make 500, you might have to make more, or again, if you're, lucky, you might pick up the phone, dial 10 numbers, connect to 10 people, and you got 5 appointments booked. Took you an hour. Well, that's your next day booked up. You're good to go. I'd book for the next, I'd be booking for the day after that, 2 days out, because you did it so fast. So that's why I always tell people it's really hard to put an exact metric on it, but there's a lot of factors. Use those factors and break down the numbers for you. Like I know that in 300 attempts to contact, my appointment setter will have me at least 10 appointments. At least. That's why I can judge her activity, because I can look at my CRM, which if you want to work with me, you'll have access to my CRM, pretty awesome, tracks calls, tracks data, tracks all these things. So I can look it up and see, all right, she made 50 calls, I have 2 appointments, perfect. So So I just got to keep the numbers flowing. This business is all numbers. If you don't know them, work on them until you do, and then your business becomes more manageable and you're able to manage your spend of your time and effort to get the most out of it. Subscribe below, join my team if you're ready to change your life.